That's why you can get anything to grow, but you can't get anything to be sweet. You can get it to happen, but you can't get it to be happy. That's why place like Chez Panisse is very happy with the products from gardens like these. They naturally produce plant. They're firm. They're flavorful. They keep longer. They taste better. They look better. They're easier to work with. So many little characteristics like that coming down to when that finished product is prepared and on the dining room table, why it tastes good and the diner gets to go home feeling good.
There are other things involved in that whole process. Certainly the variety that you plant and the moment that you pick it, and then how quickly you get it to the table. But the way that it is farmed and what is put into that soil affects the flavor as well as the nutrition of what you're eating.
The only other supplier of fresh fruit and produce to Chez Panisse is 500 miles south of San Francisco. Those goods have to be flown in. The Chino family grows and sells an enormous variety of fruits and vegetables on the family farm in Rancho Santa Fe, north of San Diego. The farm is run by Tom Chino, his sister, 2 brothers, and their elderly parents. The stand is now busier than it has ever been, with more customers wanting more varieties of fruits and vegetables.
What's the name of that?
The Chino family farm sells only to Alice Waters in Berkeley, restaurant owner chef Wolfgang Puck in Los Angeles, and people who shop at this stand.
Bye. Bye.
Tom Chino says the stand helps him keep in touch with the changing tastes of his customers. The farm has been more successful than anyone in the family expected. Part of that is because of Chino's experiments with different vegetables. Another part is that, unlike huge commercial operations, nothing is picked until it's ready to eat. Among the people you'll find working on the 40-acre Chino farm are students from Japan who've come to study Tom Chino's farming methods. Crops on the Chino farm are grown as naturally as possible. Tomatoes that are bad are dropped. Only the best go into the box to be sold. That way, instead of sorting good and bad tomatoes later, as commercial operations do, tomatoes that don't quite make it are left in the field to help fertilize the next crop. Tomatoes are important to the Chino farm. There are always new varieties to experiment with. Varieties that Tom Chino says just wouldn't sell in supermarkets.
Every year we try different tomatoes. So, for instance, we have 60 varieties here, but over 20% we have never tried before. So then out of those 20%, we select ones that we think are better, and then we'll eliminate others. For instance, this is a striped tomato that we had read that had very poor flavor, but we had been examining many varieties of striped tomato and found this one to be quite attractive. It has very nice acidity and a nice balance of sweetness and acidity. And it's a very pretty tomato, you can tell. It's so pretty. You would never find this type of tomato in the store, of course. Most of the things are picked the morning of the day that we want to ship to Alice. So we start our harvest about 5:30 in the morning. We essentially finish her order and then wash it up and pack it up. And that, gives it a level of integrity that we appreciate, because we're so disappointed in the way most produce is handled in the supermarkets. In other words, the time difference between harvest and when it's actually used by the consumer. And so we appreciate when Alice, is intent on using the vegetables the day they harvest.
On Wednesdays, crated produce for Miss Waters will be at the airport by 11 a.m. to arrive at Chez Panisse in time for dinner. The Chino farm was started by the senior Mr. Chino after he immigrated from Japan in the 1920s. In those days, the United States tried to keep Asians out, so his ship landed in Brazil. he walked to the United States. It took him a year. He and his wife were forced into an internment camp in the Arizona desert during World War II. Photographs of them are part of the Smithsonian's permanent exhibit on Japanese Americans. After the war, Quakers helped them find this piece of land and start over. Originally, they specialized in prize-winning flowers. Now, it's natural vegetables. When the weekly shipment of those vegetables gets to Berkeley, the crates are taken into a walkway beside Chez Panisse and stacked outside the restaurant door, rather like presents at Christmas. And that is about the way that Alice Waters and Paul Bertoli treat them, as if they were presents, and surprising ones at that.
Look at this one. This one is amazing here.
Look
Look at you slice it across, it looks like a sunset.
For the salad. It's just going to be perfect. Let's open that up. Palest of yellow. Oh, they're just perfect.
Yeah, really.
Despite what you may think, they are ripe tomatoes.
Tiny
look,
little
what is
melon.
this? What could this be?
These are just
There is an understandable temptation to sample what is being unpacked.
Don't even need to cook it. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Doesn't matter.
All right.
Okay.
There is so much that even the two of them are confused.
Now, this isn't a tomato, is it? Looks like a pepper. No, it is a tomato.
It is tomato.
To anyone who buys tomatoes at a grocery store, what is amazing is the variety from the Chino farm.
I need just a few.
Some look like regular tomatoes.
You can take all of
Others
them.
simply do not.
I'll tell you, it's the little mystery of the Chinos. I don't know how they do it. But every year they have another tomato, and they must have 20 varieties at one time. I'm very partial to these red ones with little green stripes in them, but I love the green the very, very ripe green ones like this. Just fantastic. But they have little different, I think some are a little sweeter, some are a little bit, have a little more sort of lemony streak to them. Some taste real tomatoey, some are very juicy. Some, they have all their little subtleties. All beautiful, but, and all like the best homegrown tomato you've ever had. I think it's very important to connect people with the source of their food and to have them understand where it comes from. And this relationship with the farmer. But it's something, there are stewards of the land, and they take care of something that nourishes us. And I think everybody has to pay attention to that, or we're not going to have a certain purity about food that is essential.
Alice Waters' interest takes her to events like the Tasting of Summer Produce show in nearby Oakland. The kind of fresh food event she'd like to see spread across the country. Just as she'd like to see more people buy and cook the fresh foods already available.
Find the little farmers markets that are sprouting up all around the country. Buy from people that are selling direct, and buy things that are in season. They're so much less expensive, and they taste so much better.
Full-bodied, high mineral, dead plant, solidity to them, and the uniformity in color, a degree of crispness.
But for the farmer, these tastings are not without risk.
What's that taste like to you?
Not a tomato.
Oh.
For people who care about fresh, natural food, Alice Waters and her Berkeley restaurant are almost magical. When she started in 1971 to care about organically grown, fresh produce, only a few other people did. Now it is the newest thing in American food. Or is it? Chez Panisse serves fresh, seasonal vegetables. Nothing has been processed or frozen. The work is done mostly by hand. We have seen this before. It is only our memory, our sense of history, that is imperfect. The early settlers ate fresh, seasonal produce. They prepared all their meals by hand. So we have wound up nearly where we started. We have made our first discovery in this new land part of our most recent one. Fresh food tastes good. It helps satisfy our need for nutrition and health. But in this huge country, how do we get enough fresh food to all our tables? We have the food. We can make this bounty a movable feast.